Welcome, everybody. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you to my lovely panel of Women of SciFi. Hell yes. I want this panel to be as beautiful as it can be. So I want to talk about your experiences on the sci-fi genre, on the sci-fi channel, and as an actress. So let's start from the beginning. What was your first acting role? We'll start over there.
Oh gosh, first acting role. I've been acting since I was 10. But like my first, I would say, big thing was I played like Marilyn Monroe in school.
I'm shocked.
Murder mystery. Oh yeah, it was fantastic. I used to dye my hair blonde. You can imagine. So it was one of my favorites. But as far as like acting goes, I did some really terrible indie films. One of them was called You're So Dead. It was a horror comedy. That was like one of my first big independent features. But my first actual
You've named 3 roles so far.
Yeah, there was a lot. But the one that people like, my first TV role was on True Blood. I was really, really lucky to have my first big gig on, at the time, it was the biggest show on TV. So that was really exciting, and it was such a gift, because you always hear about the industry and how sometimes they're like, oh, people, there can be a lot of ego, it can be challenging, all this stuff. And I went and I was lucky to work with the most amazing people. I don't know if who are True Blood fans out there? So season 3, I was in season 3, so that was when it was really, really big. And I got to act across from Stephen Moyer, who is an incredible human. Not just a great actor, but just an incredible human, and so sweet and funny. And in between takes, so I was his first, if you don't know, I was his first human that he ate. An honor. I'm really honored to be the first human that he ate. But in between takes, we were just spitting fake blood at each other and laughing, and it was just, we had such a ball, and it was probably one of the best days of my life, because it was finally really living my dream and getting to do it, and it was so fun and joyous and amazing, and everybody was so supportive. And so I went, I'm definitely doing this the rest of my life. This is it. And so, yeah, it was a really special experience for me.
Tamsen?
Yeah, I got nothing like that. I keep all the blood in my body. So, I'd have to say probably the first kind of job, again, was indies. I mean, I think probably everyone's going to have the same, likely to have the same thing, because that's where actors tend to start. I mean, you do student films, you do indies, these kinds of things. So my first indie, I started to realize very quickly that I do characters. That's my thing. I do weird, strange, odd characters. It's, I guess you just, life imitating art, supposedly.
I was going to say that about you.
Strange, odd characters. Yeah. So my first character was myself and another girl was the Satanists, and we were a bicycle gang of 2. And we
Bicycle, not bicycle, not bike, not motorcycle,
Bicycle gang.
Bicycle
I'm glad I clarified.
Yeah, bicycle gang of 2, and we basically tore around after cars and spray painted them, and we yelled at them, "Gas, gas, gas!" And yeah, we just ran like lunatics all over the place. No makeup, scraggly hair, they put dirt and crap all over us. And then my second role was as a drag queen. So I was like, okay, I'm seeing where this is going, and I'm liking where this is going.
Not a drag king, you're drag queen.
Drag queen, yeah. Because the director, he was trying to get his boyfriend to play the drag queen. So I went in for another part, and he gave it to somebody else. And then he came to me and he said, "You have a little bit of muscle in your arms and stuff, right? And you have a deep voice. What do you think about?" And so they put a thing across my neck so you could tell I didn't have an Adam's apple. And I became E, the drag queen. And they also did something at the end where they kind of insinuated that, is this a woman playing a man playing a woman, or is this a man playing a woman? So there's all these kind of, yeah. So that's what got me hooked, was the, just to play somebody that, you know, I can barely bicycle up until that point that I played a Satana. And I'm not a drag queen, although after doing that, I now love drag queens, and I'm fully into the subculture. But it was just something that you get to try on these different layers and coats and all these kinds of things. And, but also knowing that, ooh, there's a little piece of you in each of these, that there always is. And even every bad guy, every psycho, every circus performer, you get that little bit inside of you. And it, I like the way it opens up your worlds. Like I said, now I'm all into drag queens. I have a bicycle.
Hannah, what was your first role?
First role, randomly, my parents put me in German speaking classes on weekends when I was about 4 or 5 years old. So probably wasn't even speaking English particularly well at that point, and yet my parents thought, why not teach her another language? Which is weird, especially because I'm not German, but anyway. So I was going to German lessons on the weekends, and they were doing a Christmas play, and I think because I was like littler than the other kids, and I don't know, like blonde curly hair, they were like, we're gonna make her Mary. So they made me Mary in the Christmas play, and then I had to learn all these lines in German, which I couldn't do. So then I was fired from being Mary, and I was made the angel that didn't speak. So that was my first experience with acting, but I do remember enjoying it. And then as I went on, I did more drama classes, really to do things with friends to begin with, and then it began to become something in performing. I did a lot of theater actually at the beginning, where I just actually felt very comfortable doing that. And I just kind of really enjoyed telling a story, and that kind of surprised me that I actually felt quite comfortable. And then it began to be something I really loved, the different characters and emotions that I didn't feel I could portray myself. So really enjoyed that. And then when I moved to the US from Australia, my first film, again indie, was it's called Children of Sorrow. It's a very low-grade horror film. And I probably shouldn't have even said the name. But
people are checking.
But I play this cult, this chick, a young German. The circumstances were really dramatic. My sister in the film is killed in a big cult suicide. So I am an investigative journalist, and I become obsessed with finding the truth out about my sister, and I infiltrate this cult leader's new cult to get answers. But it turned into this huge improvised film. It was meant to have a script. They kind of went very rogue with it, and we were all improvising. There was fake blood. There was all sorts of mad things happening, and it was a great experience. Though I think when you're just thrown into it, especially independent films, it's very long days, small crew. Everyone's in it for the love, even if it's a strange subject matter. And it was just a really, really cool experience. We're out in the desert in California, and again, I thought, as crazy as this stuff is, I can't get enough of it, and I want to keep doing it.
Thank you. Brittany.
I started acting professionally when I was 11, and my first role was on Mad TV, which was really fun.
Doing what?
It was a Seventh Heaven skit, and I played the youngest daughter, Ruthie. And I didn't understand like half the jokes that were going on. I do now.
Oh my God! We have this.
Yeah, it's somewhere. It's somewhere on a VHS tape in my parents' house.
For those who don't know, VHS tape.
Yeah, that was my first job. I moved to LA in July of 2001, and then I booked this. I remember I was buying my Halloween costume. I was in line in Cinema Secrets, which you guys might know. Or, I don't know. No one? Really? Alright, whatever. In Burbank or Toluca Lake. And I got the call from my manager that I booked Mad TV. And I just remember repeating over and over again. I was like, I'm going to be on TV? It's like, I'm going to be on someone else's TV. And I just like, it was such an exciting concept for me. Yeah, and then I went and I filmed my episode, and it was a lot of fun. And I discovered craft services that day. And that was
For
when I was
those who
like,
don't know,
They might.
Candy. It's like
all
a
the
candy.
food you want. Yeah, it's literally like, oh God, how do you explain it?
It's the food.
Like, imagine going into a candy store. That's it.
and it's just all free.
And it's like all
Really
there for
dangerous.
you to take.
Really dangerous.
And like the better the production, the better the food, and
Yeah.
the more the food,
Oh, man.
Well,
the
and
bigger
then
the
they-
problem. And,
and
it's
then
just
they make
amazing.
But they also make the graphical mobile and they wander around. So
Oh,
if you were
yeah.
able to avoid it, they come at you.
Yeah.
Come to
Snack
you.
card, they bring you sandwiches.
They'll
I
try to make
have
you
no idea how
smoothies.
actors stay so skinny.
Yeah.
No clue.
Man, let's
So-
just talk about food. For
Yeah.
the
So I guess that's why you decided to be actor.
So then I was like, cool, yeah, this is
Food.
Taylor.
Free food. Let's talk about the genre of science fiction and fantasy and how that impacts women, because it seems to be that those shows take bigger risks with women, whereas straight dramas and comedies seem to not. Do you have any experiences with a sci-fi show taking a big risk on a woman, for example,
Oh,
the
gosh.
shows you're currently on?
Oh, yeah, I mean, in every way. I think the beauty of sci-fi and fantasy is that anything is possible. And I think as a society we have been, well, programmed to view women in a very specific way for a very long time. If we look at the 50s, for example, and how like the poster child of like what it was to be a woman, and then everybody felt they needed to be that and emulate that. And so I think we're finally at a place where we've knocked down those stereotypes in so many ways. And you see, I mean, specifically in sci-fi, and I can only speak for our show right now, is like you see these badass women that are capable of anything, but not only that, that are really having human experiences. So you see people, like women dealing with abortion and choice and what that means, and mental health and what that means, and addiction. And so we're really honoring a woman's humanity and her strength at the same time. And I think that's the most beautiful thing for me to witness in TV, and to be able to portray, to be able to honor women in every facet.
It's interesting, I do get asked this question quite a bit with interviews and stuff, like how do you feel about being in sci-fi? You've done sci-fi shows, what do you think? And so I have been thinking about it quite a bit, and I'm wondering, and maybe you guys can answer this too, what it is about the genre that means, you know, if you look back to Alien with Sigourney Weaver, like, right, she's incredible, and that is not a feminine character, like, I mean, I don't, definition of masculine.
I also believe that character was originally written for a man.
The
Yeah.
character was originally written as no gender, I
Ah.
think. I'm pretty sure every character in the script didn't have a gender.
Which is actually amazing.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure every character was written as whoever did it.
Yeah.
I think, right?
So
That's what I heard.
I heard that Ripley was originally supposed to be a man,
Yeah, I heard
and
that
then Sigourney just ended up getting the part, and like, then just became that.
I think they're all not gendered. Whatever, we'll end up doing it. Yay! Nothing against men.
But I think she was really a trailblazer in that sense, and I think since then, I think in sci-fi we see more female leads than in any other genre, which is really, I think it's a testament to sci-fi, fantasy in general. But I think she was really a trailblazer in that way as well.
And do you think that's because, like with sci-fi, that if we set a show in our time or a time before us, we know what history said, we know what the current world is, but in the future, which tends to be what sci-fi is set, we don't know what the rules are. And when the world goes to shit, like in a post-apocalyptic show, I'm in a show coming up called Colony, which is all about the end of the world, and women have to go out and fight. They have to step up and take on roles that they can't do in this day and age, or maybe in the past. So that's where I really think the roles for women start to open up. And hopefully it happens more and more with shows set in nowadays times, but in the future, like, I love that idea that women, we don't quite know what our role is, so the writers can come up with all this great stuff and in a magical world too, a different reality, like what we see in Magicians too, we can have all these different worlds Anyway, that's what I think maybe why. One of the reasons I think why sci-fi is more open to women. But I don't know if you guys have other.
I think also something for me that is, you know, I like this idea of the strong female, but for me, it's not about a character being strong. It's about a character being layered, complicated, sometimes not human. Or, do you know what I mean? Sometimes not human. A spaceship. Like sometimes this person isn't human. This person is, you know, like a psychopath. Like
It's not a person.
An android, for example,
exactly.
on a recently canceled show, Dark Matter,
Yes.
there was an incredibly layered android.
Yes. And this is what I'm talking about, is that it's
Oh,
not
yeah.
just strong, because sometimes they'll put a token strong woman into something. And I'm finding with sci-fi, they'll make a psychopathic character, like Dulcea in Killjoys, who I would say she's got some strength to her, but she's more of a sociopath. And I find that very interesting, because there's a reason why she's a sociopath, and they've layered it in, and the writing is so good. And it is allowed, like you said, because maybe it's because it's in the future, anything's possible, or different worlds that we don't have, the 50s, where we always have to bear in mind that women are weaker than men, blah, 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 all that, you know, stuff. We don't have those preconceived things when we're in space or when we're in a fantasy. But I like the fact that in sci-fi, the women tend to be as complicated as the men in whatever way. It's a weak character, it's a victim character, but it's not just a victim. It's a victim, you know, if you want to give her one trope on it, it's more of a victim character. Like, she's interesting, and she's got stuff, and you feel so much for her, when so many times you don't feel anything for the woman except sympathy. You know, this is like, oh, I just hate her. I love when I hate a female character. You know, or that I just feel so strongly in some way, shape, or form for a female character. Strength, weakness, whatever it might be. So that's what I find that sci-fi is being really good for too.
You know, it's interesting. So as you were talking, every time I hear the word fantasy, something comes up. So was anybody here at New York Comic-Con? So did you go to the Women of SciFi panel? There was a Women of SciFi
This is
panel.
the Women of Sci-Fi. The definitive.
So we went to the other Women of SciFi.
Less good.
Yeah. Except they had execs and writers and creators, but it was, and some actors. But it was really special to hear them talk.
Did Sarah do that?
Sarah did it.
Yeah.
Sarah Gamble, our executive producer, creator, she was on that panel, and so it was amazing to hear her and everybody speak, because the thing that kept coming up, which was so fascinating, this one woman, and I wish to God I remember her name right now, and I lost my phone, so I can't look it up. But she was incredible, and she was actually one of the first women to create graphic novels. Because it was what'd you say?
Gail Simone.
Yes, Gail Simone, thank you. Gail Simone. So it was Gail Simone, and she was one of the first women. She was a pioneer. And the fact is that for so long, it's been a male-dominated genre. And I keep hearing the word fantasy, and I'm like, yeah, because to men, except like we're discounting, like, of course for gay men, but I'm saying for a straight male, the fantasy was a woman in this strong sort of fantasy world. And so that, I think, is also why it did give us sort of an upper hand, in a sense, to put a woman in the forefront, because that was their fantasy. But now it's really beautiful to see women really stepping in from behind the scenes to give them more layers and to give them more depth in whatever, whether they're human or not. You know what I mean? So that was something that I really found really interesting and just kept coming to mind. So I just want to share that.
Yeah. When you look at a character and you see the breakdown, what is it that you are looking for? What is something that you've seen that has stood out for you?
Hot. Like,
In a positive way.
okay.
Well, I mean, no, but that's
That
I think, a
always
really
happens.
good point,
Right.
though. I think that's a really good point that you're making. I know that might not be positive, but that is something that we deal with a lot, which is like,
And the problem isn't that
Up
they're
until
talking
now,
about physical attributes. I don't want to be like, oh God, they want you to be beautiful, it's so awful. The problem is when the men aren't described as being attractive or being something like a physical attribute. The problem is like, remember that script
yeah.
from last year that I read that's being made, it's a big thing, and it was like the most sexist script I've ever read, and not just the content of it. I don't mind sexist characters in scripts because that's real, that's life. People are this, people are racist, people are sexist, people are psychopaths, you know what I mean? But like even in the descriptions for every single character, I actually paid very close attention. I remember I was so mad
Yeah,
because I was coming over the next day to make deodorant with Jade and Olivia Taylor Dudley from our show.
Make deodorant.
Yeah, we made our own
Make
deodorant.
I just want to make sure I heard it right.
I was just like, I
I'll
had to
teach you guys
vet.
if you need.
Yeah, no, she knows. She taught us how to do it. And I was like, I need to vet about this stupid script. And every single character description, like every single woman in this script was just, you know, Haley comes on screen, hot, a slut, you know what I mean? And every single woman was described like that, and not a single man, even like the lead man who's supposed to be really, really attractive, wasn't even described as sexy or handsome or anything. He was described as surfer looking. And I remember that specifically, because I'm like, look, call people beautiful, but like, do it across the board. And then the rest of the script, we don't even get into. But, and there's nothing wrong with calling characters beautiful. It's just when, or handsome, it's just when it's so insanely lopsided that it's like the only people you care about being attractive are the women, and the only people you don't really care about and having character development is the men. But fortunately, you're seeing less of that. And
It's still happening. Like
It's still happening,
I just
yeah.
went out for something, and it was embarrassing. It was just embarrassing to look at. There's 3 character descriptions, all recurring, all the same level. The 2 females, one was described as tall, beautiful, lithe, tall, beautiful, lithe, dancer's body. Second one, singer, very tall, lithe. These are character breakdowns. Character. The man. Quirky, interesting, kind of scruffy, got a bit of a darkness to him, but covers it up with humor.
that sounds like
Scruffy looking was that's a character. Scruffy looking is the only physicality.
Yeah.
Everything else was what his character is. Or the women, because they don't know what a woman's character is, it describes what she does in the script.
Yes, I hate that. I'm like, yeah, I read the script. I
I
already
can
know
see
that.
the script, I can read it, but you guys you're not thinking about what a female is. Don't you know interesting females in your lives? Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't
What are you talking
understand
about? All
that.
the females in my life are tall and lithe.
Yeah.
That's how the world you live in. LA. But as you're all saying, we do read a lot of character breakdowns that are literally physical descriptions. Blonde, tall, thin. Brunette, tall, thin.
Yeah.
What is it, especially the characters that you are playing?
That's what I was gonna say. Sorry. go ahead.
No, that's
Sorry, oh my god, I just
No,
lost that whole tangent.
I appreciate that. No, but I was gonna say, I think it really is up to, and this was again something that I took away from the Women of SciFi, is it's really up to the execs and the people in charge and the creators to really make that difference. And also for us, and this was something I was been a big part of the Me Too movement, and we shoot in Vancouver, and we went to this sort of Me Too conference, and one of our good friends, Keegan from our show, stood up and she said something that I thought was really, really poignant, which was, as far as actors go, she's like, yes, it's up to the execs to create the opportunities, but it's also up to us to say no to the ones that aren't in alignment with what we agree with. And so I'm so grateful for our show, in particular, The Magicians.
That's part of the reason, by the way, why I said no to this project.
Yeah.
Because it was a big project, and you had told me that like weeks before, and it reminded me. I was like, you know what? I need to say no to this and send a note back to my reps, who I love and 100% agreed with me, and say why I was saying no. Because I was like, as much as I would love this opportunity in this big film, like if every actor says yes to this, these things are going to keep getting made. And so it took me like an hour to make the decision, but I was like, what am I doing? Definitely no. And then I was proud to tell you. I would have been like ashamed otherwise that I had given in to something shitty like that.
Well, because I don't know if you guys know the trajectory of my career in particular, but the first maybe 7 characters I played was either a stripper or a prostitute.
I was like, Tamsen, do you want to speak?
But those were the opportunities I had, and I was afraid that I wasn't going to get a different one.
Yeah.
Because that's all we had. And so thank God I'm in a different position now, but also I have different wisdom now. But again, going back to our show, our writers, creators, they are so incredible about really honoring who somebody is, who the character is, and being innovative and different and like really knocking down those social norms. But like the things that we've believed were normal for so long that aren't. And so I'm really, really grateful for our show to be able to like really, again, honor women and the truth of who somebody is, not somebody's appearance. They're always telling me this is a weird thing, but you know this, like they're always going, like she looks too pretty, which is like, that sounds really, really arrogant. I recall.
Your character is not
My point
supposed to
is
be.
she's not supposed to be pretty, and she's like supposed to like, she doesn't care about that. And so for them to keep saying that, it actually makes me really, really happy. And they're like, give her more bags, like dumb her down, and like really like allow her truth to shine through. And so that's like, you never see that. You never see that. So I appreciate that.
Aside from the shows that you were on, can you think of a character in sci-fi, a woman that you go, that is an amazing woman in sci-fi, and why she inspires you? Aside from her.
Well, she actually just said, I'm stealing this from Ex Machina. I love her. That movie is so amazing. I love that movie so much. And I have like the biggest crush on Alicia Vikander right now too. I'm like obsessed with her. She's so brilliant. I love her.
Yeah, but as Tomb Raider, I don't know.
Well, it's talking about Ex Machina. Whoa. I watched Tomb Raider twice in theaters. Thank you very much.
I'm just not bitter because I really want to play her.
Yeah, she's bitter. Don't listen to this part of this.
In the next
great.
reboot, in the next reboot, you can do it.
but she's so tiny.
She's bitter. Are you listening to her shaming her tininess?
No,
This
We know each other really well.
We do, clearly.
It's not obvious.
Hannah, is there another character?
You can talk about her more because I stole it from you, but I am obsessed with that movie.
Oh no, I think that it's a great film. I'm actually trying to think of like some other good examples because I like Sigourney Weaver in Alien is someone I just think she's so. I just love her.
That
Like,
movie is brilliant.
yeah, and I'm just a huge fan of her in general.
Yeah.
But what I liked about the character in Ex Machina, when I kept reading it, I was like Ex Machina. Now I can't say the name properly. What I really loved about her is just like we don't know what she is. She's this new technology, and she has this personality that has vulnerability to it, that is deceptive, that is learning these human traits.
Yeah.
And this is exactly what we're saying
She's
about
so smart.
Yeah, about roles. That it's not about being a good hero character necessarily that we fight for. She's that strong Hunger Games type. You know, yes, we have those female characters that are the embodiment of strong and all these things, but
She's also manipulative.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
also wonderful to just have characters that are just, female characters that are interesting, whether that means that they're very flawed or weak at times, but at least they're like layered and people we understand and empathize with and go on a journey with. And I really liked Alicia's character in that movie. For that reason, that we went on this journey with her. She had so many amazing traits that this character was learning, and yeah.
Also, I was gonna say, I just remembered because she whispered it to me 2 seconds ago, and I stole it immediately. So let me come up with something original. But I don't know how many of you guys saw Annihilation. Did you guys see Annihilation? It's so good, right? I know
One person.
I feel it. Hey, that's good.
Two.
It's still a pretty good
Great.
percentage.
2 people.
Well, I feel bad talking about it. Whatever.
Spoiler.
Little tiny
Spoilers.
spoilers. I mean, you saw.
You're welcome.
Sorry. That's okay. I hate spoiling things, but whatever. We're on a panel and we're talking about sci-fi women. What's her name? Natalie Portman in Annihilation was so amazing because she was so layered, and because of the way that they were telling it, they weren't telling it perfectly in order. Like you discover this humanity about her, and also that she wasn't she was really great and extraordinary in so many ways, but then she was also kind of shitty in some way. Like she was cheating on her husband. And all of a sudden, you find that out partway through the film because it flashes back. And then you find out that, oh my God, this woman who's doing this incredibly, heroic, self-sacrificial thing, she's going into this place thinking that she might die for her husband to find out about what kind of, destroyed him. But then you find out she, betrayed him, And it's like, so it's questionable, like, who she is as a person, but it doesn't take away from her heroism. But the point is that she's so layered, and she's a real human being. And I'm not saying real human beings do that. Not every, you know what I mean? But like this particular person happened to do these things in life that were like one incredible and one really bad. And I just love it. And she rode that, and it made her character so interesting because you didn't realize that she had betrayed her husband for like the first half of the film, and she's so.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, sorry. Sorry, Jade.
I gave you a spoiler warning.
Yeah, it was her fault. She encouraged me.
I did.
But yeah, so the whole first part of the film, like she seems extra conflicted, and as an audience member, you're like wondering why she's as conflicted as she is in this way, and then you find out, and also the storytelling is great. And Alex Garland, the director, sorry, I like to work out everything's really hard. And, but yeah, she's this incredible, and it's not that she's an incredible woman, she's an incredible human. And that's what it comes down to, is like just incredible human beings and incredible characters, you know? Because we want to like level the playing field, and we want everybody to have incredible characters.
Speaking of, I'm going to say mine. Every woman in Black Panther.
Yeah,
Hands down. Like, it's about freaking time. It's about freaking time. Like, there is not enough diversity. And so I'm grateful for that. I will also say Gal Gadot, even though I'm really bitter because I really want to play Wonder Woman too. She doesn't have green eyes. Like I do. Like I do. I'm just saying. But she's Israeli, and so
We need
am
to be
I. So I
accepting
really...
physically, unless I auditioned against her.
Terrible. No, honestly, like I think just like more diversity. I think.
I cried during
those
the fight
women-
scenes in Wonder Woman.
The
Like
which
I like teared up. I like cried when the women were fighting
At the
because I had never really seen fight scenes with women
Yeah.
Yeah.
doing that. You know what I mean? Like I actually cried and I was like, oh my god. I was like, all this my female friends are telling me they cried during the fight scenes, and I was like, okay. And then I got there, and then here I go.
You know, also like just going back to Black Panther, like yes, the women had love interests, but they didn't need them.
Right.
It was
They
like
were defined by that.
they were defined by them, which I thought was really, really beautiful as well to acknowledge that.
Yeah, I love that.
It's one of the things that I personally love about the Sci-Fi Channel is that the women there have reasons to do things. And there is another channel that has a lot of sci-fi shows, specifically superhero shows, and I will leave it at that. And almost all of their women, once they get into a relationship, forget to go to work. And y'all know exactly what I'm talking about, where she stopped going to work and was a journalist. So,
Can I give us
Yes.
some slight magician spoiler?
yes?
From third season?
Next season.
You can't do
It's
that.
not slight, it's like hardly.
Are you gonna get in trouble?
No.
Am I gonna get in trouble?
No.
Go ahead.
No, because so John and Sarah kept saying to me, so John and Sarah are executive producers, John McNamara, Sarah Gamble, they kept saying to me, because those of you who watch it know that Penny and her relationship is sort of...
Well, I guess this is a
Not-
spoiler if you didn't finish season 3 also.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
I was gonna spoil everything today.
You're great at this.
Well, I'm really good at this. Clearly. No, the beautiful thing that they said is like, we haven't seen Katie as an individual. We've always seen her taking care of her mom, taking care of Julia, so it was always, but mostly with Penny. And so it was like, she was always Penny's girlfriend. And so she's like, they're finally going, we want her to be an individual, not somebody that's like based on this relationship, but just as an individual. So they're playing into that this year, which I'm really excited about.
That's awesome.
I think
So we'll find out more about her.
not a spoiler
Not a
in the way
spoiler.
that this season ended and she was solo.
Yeah, exactly.
So there you
No, but I really appreciated that they were really making that emphasis. Like I had a meeting with them a couple weeks ago, and that was something that they really emphasized was like, we really want her to, we don't want that to be the defining factor of this person. We want her to be an individual, and so that was like just special to hear.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Tamsen, do you have a character from a sci-fi film or a movie to show words?
Yeah, there's a couple. There was one growing up. My parents basically, after a few years, decided we were old enough to watch Star Wars. And I know it's very typical, but Princess Leia for me, and it wasn't because, oh, she blasted against, because she would save them, they would save her, and no one asked a question about it. It was just, yeah, she's capable. We trust her, we respect her. There was so much respect there. And she was a jerk half the time. She was a snob. She was a total snob. And she was a wisecracker, and she was right there with all the guys. And she was smarter than Luke. You know, like I liked it, but they didn't make a thing about it. This was the thing, like so many shows that are still going on right now, they've got to go, oh look, she said something funny. Look, 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 we made her funny. Look, look, we gave her a brain. Yeah, chicks do that. We have brains, we're funny, we're all these things. We don't need to point it out and go, look what special thing we did. And it wasn't special that she was so interesting and so capable, also needed to be saved, also saved, did all these things. It was just that. It's who she was. Another character that I really liked was Leeloo Dallas from Fifth Element. Yeah.
I got excited.
She
was
Multipass, yes.
Yeah, multipass. But she was, I loved how they made her so vulnerable. And this was one of the most beautiful things about her. And it was such, talking about that whole strength thing, is that there was such a strength in her vulnerability. And in a sci-fi, I'm crying at the end when she's being held by Bruce Willis and crying about what humanity has done to itself and all these things, and that she was just this, she was so empathetic and so vulnerable, and you couldn't dislike this person, but you respected her so much. And so it's those kind of characters, again, they're just so complicated and so, but just automatically respected. No one assumed she couldn't do what she was doing. Anyway.
There's this like really special moment in the beginning where like they know that it's like the supreme being, right? And like of course like we're anticipating that it's going to be a man, and then it's this like woman that is vulnerable and like it's just such a great film.
And quirky,
and
like
quirky and
quirky was so great.
Quirky
Yeah,
and
it's
scruffy.
Yeah. Exactly.
I would love to open it up if anyone has questions specifically relevant to being women and women in sci-fi, and awesome, not specifically like what's happening next season on your show.
Yeah.
If anyone has
We
questions.
don't even know most of that.
We don't know everything besides what I just
I mean,
said.
I know
You're filming
everything
right
on
now,
both shows.
aren't you?
Yeah.
So if anybody does have questions, I'm happy to take them. Otherwise, we'll continue. Yes.
Question from Brittany.
Birthday twin.
Are you still mad that they haven't restored Trent's feet?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah, the Fairy Queen took my toes away at the beginning of, whatever, I don't know. The Fairy Queen took my toes away, and she took another character, Margot's eye away. And then at the end of this last season, for those of you who haven't seen the show, she gives, it's a long story, there's a Fairy Queen.
Whatever, she gives Margot her eye
She
back.
gives Margot her eye back, and she has to give me my toes. Thank you for
But it's
noticing
really
that.
cute. It's really cute because Fen goes, and my toes?
Yeah.
No? Okay.
No, it's so
Yeah,
so
that's messed up.
Margot got her eye back, but and like I lost my child because of the Fairy Queen. I'm
Your log
like,
baby.
you could a real person too. Thank you. The log's real too. She could at least give me my toes. Thank you. I spent a lot of time thinking about that, so I appreciate it.
Also, Fen really has gone on this amazing arc. I've told you how much I respect
Yeah.
what you did with this character, because she went from her role was the daughter of
Knife maker.
a knife maker. She was the daughter. This is the daughter of a knife maker. That's it. And then she got forced married.
And then she was an obedient wife.
Can I just say though that that's a testament to Britt, because like honestly like you started as a recurring character, and now you're Sue's right. You know that's like
Yeah.
because of your work and your work ethic. Like that's.
As did you, Jade.
But it's
No,
about
no,
Brittany.
it's about me right now.
I mean, I remember reading scripts in season 1, and Katie was, it's just, she comes so far, and it's so a testament to what you brought to that character. And same again, I know Fen, you came in to you sort of very much, you're at the very, very end of the first season.
Yeah, it was another actress, but it was.
Fen was
But
there.
the character, Fen was there,
And then
without me.
you came in, and now it's gone, it's the same thing. Like, you guys, have killed it on that
But
show.
the character growth.
Yeah.
Right.
The writing for the character was
Yeah.
knife maker's daughter.
And now
High
it's King.
It's
acting High King.
Acting High King had to deal with
Has everybody
losing-
seen The Magicians? Okay, most people. So
You guys finished
I just want to
season
say
3?
No,
that
Yeah.
I just like our writers and
It's
creators are
fine.
so brilliant. Like I love the idea of acting high king and just like a woman can be king. Hell yeah, they can. You know what I mean? It's just like such a beautiful concept, and I just love that they're doing that. And I can't wait to see you as acting high king for this season and see what
Me
happens.
too. I'm so excited about it. But yeah, no, our writers really do. I mean, it's a testament to our writers too, like how much, you know, I think it's easy for people to get stuck in their minds. They're like, this is the story I'm writing and this is the character that I've written. But our character, and I think a lot of writers are probably pretty malleable, especially once they get to the level they're at on our show, where like they get to know us as people and as actors and our work on the show, and they really do an amazing job of playing to who we are without like turning the characters into us. Yeah, our strengths and like.
Except you're Fen.
Well, yeah, except I am Fen. But Fen is becoming more and more me.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I'm becoming more Fen. Yeah, Fen was pretty, except I wasn't an obedient wife.
I mean,
That like, let her, whatever. I'd like to think I was more free thinking than Fen was for a while. I'm like Fen is now, without the psychosis. Maybe a little bit, but yeah, I have toes.
Good, I'm glad you have toes. Do you have any final thoughts about the genre of sci-fi and women and the future of sci-fi and how it's breaking barriers that other shows just don't bother trying? You know, you're all on 2 shows that specifically have people who are queer and it's never addressed or questioned or labeled, or you have diverse casts and it's again
also not
never addressed or questioned or labeled. It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Do you have any final thoughts?
Well, I just think, I mean, I have so many thoughts about that. I'm so grateful that that's finally like the world we're living in. I'm like just beyond grateful, and I'm excited that that we get to now be the pioneers of this being the norm. And I think it's just up to us. Like for me, it's always about great. Like that's been the past. Now, what can we do moving forward? What are the action steps that we can take? And I think it's important not only as actors, creators, producers, writers to create the content, but also you as fans and people watching to celebrate when those things are happening and to share it and spread the word about it so that we can really collectively make a difference.
Thank you. Thank you all so much. Can we give them some appreciation here? Thank you guys. And of course, for the rest of the afternoon, we are doing signings over here and photos with all these lovely ladies and the gentlemen who are here as well. Yay! Thank you.
Thank you guys.